Hey, what is going on, guys? RvzStealth here, and in today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys my opinion on the best mid laners for patch 5.24. So first up is going to be Ahri. Ahri is definitely one of my personal favorite mid laners in the game. I've played her quite a bit this season and I've had really good success on her, mainly because she's just a real safe mid lane pick who really doesn't have any hard counters in the laning phase. If Ahri is in a little bit of a harder matchup, she can just sit back and farm with her Q if she needs to, but she's got pretty good kill pressure in the laning phase due to her charm and just due to her level 6 all-in being really strong as well. Once you do at level 6 as Ahri, as long as you can land your charm, then you can look to assassinate your target pretty easily, and if she gets a gank at level 6, then as long as she hits her charm, she's gonna be able to get a kill pretty much like 99% of the time. She's also got pretty good wave clear with her Q and her W. Her roaming potential is also really good just due to her ultimate and her charm. Once you do at level 6 as Ahri, definitely look to go for a roam down bot lane or top lane, and as long as you can hit your charm, then you should be able to get yourself a kill. She also has pretty good sustain in the laning phase with her passive, and the true damage on her Q is also a really nice part of her kit. One con to Ahri though is that she is very skill shot reliant. If you can't land your charm on Ahri, then you are going to be missing out on a lot of her potential, because her charm is a game changing ability, and if you cannot land that, then you're definitely going to be missing out on a little bit of Ahri's potential. But nonetheless, she is a very strong mid lane pick, and if you are looking for a good skill shot oriented safe mid laner, then Ahri is definitely a great pick right now. So next up on my list is going to be Talon. Talon is definitely a very strong mid lane pick right now in my opinion, with the recent changes to the masteries, with the new assassin mastery being introduced into the game. It makes him a much stronger pick right now, as well as we're seeing a lot of immobile AD carries being played. Miss Fortune is like one of the most played AD carries right now, and she's really immobile, and I picked Talon into Miss Fortune and I was able to blow her up quite a few times in the game I was playing against her. So if the enemy team does have immobile champions, say they pick like a Lux mid lane, Miss Fortune AD carry, then I would definitely look to pick Talon because he's a really good pick against those immobile squishy targets. He also has an insane 100 to 0 late game. As long as you do have a couple items on Talon and you are late game, if you use your full combo, you're going to be able to 100 to 0 them really quickly. He's also got the gap closer on his E, which is really nice for just jumping on his opponent, and the stealth with his ultimate is really good as well. It's one of the most underrated parts of his kit in my opinion, because it just allows him to sneak up on his targets. He can sit in a brush, pop his ultimate, or not sit in a brush. If he sits in the brush, then they're going to be able to see his ultimate, but he can sit like just outside the brush, pop his ultimate, and then he can just jump at his opponent, and if they don't have a pink ward, then he's just going to be able to assassinate them before they can even react most of the time. And his ult's on like a 40 or 50 second cooldown too once you get that at rank 3, so it's a really short cooldown, and it just allows him to look for picks and look for assassinations whenever that's up. He also does have pretty good wave clear as well with his W, and he also has really good sticking power because his W gives him that really good slow, and his E also gives him a slow as well. So once he jumps on his target, they're pretty much not going to be able to get away. And he is also a very good roaming champion as well due to his gap closer on his E, as well as his speed boost that he does get with his ultimate. And one con to Talon though is that he does have a little bit of a weaker early game since he is a melee champion, so he can get bullied out by some of the ranged champions in the first few levels. Next up on my list is going to be Twisted Fate. So I think Twisted Fate is a really good pick for solo queue, mainly because of his ultimate. Once you do at level 6 as Twisted Fate, just always look for opportunities to use your ultimate. If the bot lane is pushing out, then look to go for a roam down bot lane. If the top lane's pushing, then just go top lane. Whichever lane looks like they need help, just go and help them out, because you can definitely get a good snowball going as Twisted Fate by getting some good ultimates off in the early game. He's got the 2-second point and click stun, which is also really strong, especially for team fighting. Once you get that maxed out and you get to like mid to late game, you're going to be able to get a gold card off every 4 or 5 seconds, which is just so strong for team fights. And he also does have really strong wave clear with his red card as well as his Q. His tower pushing ability is actually pretty underrated too. His blue card does a lot of damage to towers, so he can look to shove towers really nicely, and you can just end up sieging with Twisted Fate pretty well if you do end up getting a lead. He's a pretty safe laner as well. If he is in a harder matchup, then he can just sit back and farm with his Q, and he does have really good one-shot potential once he does get to that late game. A few cons to him though is that he does not have any mobility, so you do have to be careful about your positioning when you're playing as him, and also in the laning phase that you're not pushing out too far, and in my opinion he is also a little bit harder to play. Next on my list is Lux. So I think that Lux is one of the stronger early game mid lane champions in the game for sure. I've been spamming her in solo queue lately, and I've been able to pick up first blood on her in quite a few of my games just because I've been able to poke the enemies down in the early game with my E and my passive, and then they just don't expect the damage coming out of her. And I've also been running exhaust on her against some of the assassins that I've been playing against, and I've done really well. Some people may say that Lux is a really weak pick against assassins, but I've just been picking her into champions like Zed and Talon, and I've actually been doing really well because I'm running the exhaust, and then I'm also building Zhonya's as my first item, and then it's just really hard for them to do anything against me because I can just poke them down in the early game and I can get the lead on them. And even if they do end up, even if the game does end up going to the mid to late game, if they try to jump on me, I can just exhaust them and then I can use Zhonya's. So don't be afraid to pick Lux against assassins. I really don't think she has too many weak lane matchups in the game for sure. I can basically pick Lux into any matchup and I'd be confident that I can win the lane. So I think that she is one of the stronger mid lane picks in the game right now just because she does not really have any hard counters. She's got her AoE shield as well, which is really nice for team fighting, especially if you can get that off on a lot of your teammates. And she does have a long range wave clear with her E and her ultimate. Never be afraid to use your ultimate to clear out a wave or to just get some poke off before a team fight starts, because once you get to the mid to late game as Lux and you get your ultimate at rank 3, it's on a 30-second cooldown if you have 40% CDR, so just use that to get some poke off before a team fight starts. If you see the enemy AD carry caught out, or if you see the enemies grouped up and you can get like a 4-man ultimate off, then don't be afraid to do that because you can end up forcing the enemies to go back. Like if you get your ult off on the enemy AD carry and it's late game, you're gonna chunk them down so much that they're gonna have to go back, so then that could just end up getting your team a Baron. So overall, just don't be afraid to use Lux's ultimate since it is on a short cooldown, and she does also have a lot of AoE damage with her Q, her E, and her ultimate, which just makes her a very strong team fighting champion. And a few cons to Lux though are that she does not have a gap closer, so you do have to be careful about your positioning in team fights and in the laning phase, and her E also does not one-shot the wave, so that can be a little bit of a problem if your team does not have any other sort of wave clear. And to round out the top 5 for this patch, I have Brand. So I think that Brand is one of the strongest, if not the strongest mid lane champions in the game right now. The amount of AoE damage that you can put out with Brand in a team fight is absolutely crazy in my opinion. If you can get a multi-man ultimate off in a team fight, then that team fight's pretty much won right there, especially if you can get that off on the enemy high priority targets like the AD carry and the mid laner. The build of the Leandries and Rylai's is pretty insane on Brand as well. Like it just allows him to do so much damage, and it provides really good CC for his team as well with the Rylai. So overall, go for that build every single game when you're playing as Brand. Unless you are going up against an assassin, you might want to get a Zhonya's before you end up getting those 2 items, but I would definitely build those items as your core items on Brand because they just synergize really, really well together. He does have pretty good poke as well in the laning phase with his W, which makes him a really strong laner, and he is kind of a press R to win champion. Like one good ultimate in a team fight can just win you the game right there. And a few cons to him though is that he does not have any mobility, so like Lux, just be careful in the laning phase and in team fights about your positioning, and he is also pretty skill shot reliant with his W and with his Q. So first up on the honorable mentions for this patch, I have Anivia. So Anivia is definitely a little bit harder to play than some of the other mid laners in the game, but I think that she is a pretty strong mid lane pick as long as you know what you're doing on her. Once you do get to the mid to late game as Anivia, you can do so much damage with her. Her wave clear is pretty insane as well with her ultimate, and as long as you can position well in team fights as Anivia, then you can do really well on her. Next up is Diana. So Diana is a pretty good mid lane pick into some of the assassins right now, like Talon and in Zed and Yasuo, she's a pretty good pick against them. She can end up rushing Zhonya's against those champions, and if she can also take exhaust against them, and then she can duel them really well. She's one of the stronger split pushing mid lane champions in the game as well, so if you do get ahead with Diana, then you can look to split push with her, and you can just look to go for 1v1. So overall, I think that Diana is a pretty strong mid pick. Next on the honorable mentions, I have Annie. So Annie is definitely one of the simpler mid laners in the game for sure. If you're either new to mid lane or you're just looking for a simpler mid lane champion, I would definitely recommend picking up Annie. Even if you are more skilled in the mid lane, like, she is still a really good pick. She's got really good burst damage, especially once she does hit her level 6, and she can just pretty much blow up the enemy AD carry once you get to the mid to late game with her full combo, and that just makes her a really great pick for solo queue because her combo is really easy to use. It's not hard at all, and as long as you can catch the enemies out of position and you know when to go for those flash tibber engages, then you can do really well on Annie. Next up is Zed. So with the recent changes to the masteries, Zed has seen a pretty big increase in his win rate. He went from like a 47% to like a 50 something percent win rate this patch, so he's definitely a much stronger pick right now, and I think that as long as you can play Zed correctly and you know how to play him mechanically, then he can be a very good mid lane champion. Next up, I have Yasuo. So Yasuo definitely isn't as strong as he was before because of the nerfs to the Warlord's Bloodlust, but he's still a really strong pick. The fact that you can get 100% crit with Yasuo by just having the static shiv and a cloak of agility is pretty crazy, and you can just look to duel the enemy champions really well once you do pick up those two items. I would definitely recommend going for the shiv and Infinity Edge as your two core items on Yasuo because it just makes him a really strong duelist and a really strong team fighting champion as well. So like some of the other champions on my list, he's a bit harder to play in my opinion, but he can be very rewarding if you can play him correctly. And to round out the honorable mentions for this patch, I have Malzahar. So Malzahar is actually right up there with Brand when it comes to win rates for mid lane champions in the game. He's sitting at like a 54 or 55% win rate right now, and in my opinion, it's just because his ultimate is such a strong ability, and he's a simple champion to play as well. He really doesn't have any hard combos to use. Like, you're just gonna look to ult the enemy mid laner or AD carry in pretty much every single team fight as Malzahar, and the fact that his ultimate's like a 1.5 or 2 second suppress, I don't play him very much, so I don't know the exact timing on it, but the fact that his ultimate lasts for such a long duration, he can just take out the mid laner or AD carry in a team fight, and as long as his team follows up, then they can just burst the target down before they even get out of your ultimate. So I think that just due to the fact that he's a simpler mid lane champion and that he's got really good single target burst damage, he is a very good pick for solo queue. And that is all for the video, guys. If you did enjoy, then be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you have not already. So thanks for watching, guys. Have an awesome day, and I will see you in my next video.